Today's guest on the Bitcoin.com news podcast is Sangho Grolleman, the CEO of Cryptopia. Welcome to the show, Sangho.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Would you please start by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got to your position?
Well, my name is Sangho. I'm the CEO of Cryptopia. I am in the crypto business since 2018. And I got in the space by coincidence. I live in the Netherlands, and when I moved from Amsterdam to Haarlem, one of my new neighbors was in a crypto startup, and they had some difficulties moving the project forward. And well, of course, you got to talk about your work, and I explained what I did. And at that time, I had a food commerce startup, and we got to talk about how I ran that startup. Eventually, they said to me, "Okay, we need a guy like you." And of course, I was not able to move then. But after half a year, I guess, we kept talking about their startup, my startup. And well, eventually I got so intrigued by the whole concept of cryptocurrency that I decided to join as a COO at that time, and later moved to the position of CEO. I have a master's degree in international economics and economic geography. So I worked a lot for global corporations, but also for smaller companies and non-profits, mainly in marketing roles. Later shifted to digital marketing with a focus on performance. So I advised companies on what they want to achieve and help them get there at that point and what they needed to do to keep line of sight on their objectives. I also learned to code, full stack developer diploma, and that was mainly to be able to start my own digital concepts. And of course, I'm an avid gamer, so I like gaming. I played everything from casual games on the mobile phone to the MMOs on PC. I have a very keen interest in technology, and specifically on technology that mobilizes people or allows people to have a say or participate. And that is why I was really interested in the cryptocurrency, or beneath it, of course, the blockchain technology, because it's, in my opinion, gives people the chance to participate into projects or aspects of business that they usually have no access to. And well, we get to talk about Cryptopia, of course, but that's mainly one of the main drivers for me to be in this space.
Very interesting. So a good mix of hard work and some serendipity there. So tell us, how would you define Cryptopia, both as a game and as a project?
So Cryptopia as a game is a unique blend of strategy and role-playing games. And if there are gamers listening to this, they would immediately recognize civilization concepts in our game. So we have a worldview with land masses and seas, and the tiles can contain resources, and you can build structures to extract these resources and set up supply chains to process these resources and become a wealthy or influential player. And on the other hand, we have also elements of RPG, so role-playing games. So every piece of land that you have in Cryptopia on the world map, you can enter that piece of land, and then you load into a 3D environment. So we're able to, well, maybe people know Fortnite or other 3D games where you can walk around, do quests, collect resources, hunt animals, etc. Of course, we are a Web3 game, so all the items in the game represent real-world value. And that means that gamers can own all the items in the game. We do it a bit differently from other games in the sense that we are free to play and earn. So you don't need to buy an NFT or a digital collectible, or you don't need to hold a specific amount of tokens in order to play the game or in order to participate in the earning aspect of the game. And we believe that's very important to be successful as a Web3 game. So you allow people, you should lower the barrier to enter as much as possible. And we believe that we crack the code in our game with a sustainable in-game economy. So that's why we dare to be free to play and earn. And I say dare because a lot of other projects don't dare to be free to play and earn because they believe that it's not sustainable for them. And we say otherwise. We say we are sustainable, and that's why we offer our game to everyone. As a project, we make blockchain technology available to the masses, and we make it as easy as possible for people to start our game. So if you're new to crypto and you want to play our game, you just download the game, and everything is arranged for you, the wallet, the gas, behind the scenes. So it's never in your face, or it's never an obstacle for you to play our game. And because we have our own multi-signature wallet integrated into our game, it also allows you to use this wallet for other purposes. So, of course, you can use it in our game, and it will be used in our game. But it also educates, exposes you, that may be the better word, exposes you to blockchain technology without maybe even knowing it. And with that, you are, as a person from outside the blockchain space, getting, experience or versed in using blockchain technology. And I personally believe that it's very important especially for people that are maybe not in the Western world or in relatively lower income areas where there are no banking systems. I believe, and we believe, that this can be very helpful outside of the game. So they know what blockchain technology is, what cryptocurrency is, how they can receive and send, how they can trade, but also in our game with the game economics, how to plan. So if you have a quest reward, if you earn some tokens, you can spend it now, or you can save it and try to invest it into an in-game item in a factory or in a ship or in an item. And that means that you are exposed also to learning to plan something in a financial matter. And that can be a very new concept to a lot of people around the globe. And that makes it, for me at least, also very interesting to be in crypto.
Very interesting. And what's your target demographics, you would say? Are you looking mostly for people that are new to crypto? Are you looking for people that have experience with different crypto games before? Or
yes, very good question. Yes. So we have mainly, generally speaking, we have two target groups. So one is indeed the persons that are already in crypto and are already playing maybe other crypto games or are invested in other crypto projects. And we call these people, or we have a playstyle in our game, and that's called the tycoon playstyle. So like business tycoons, they own assets. So they own mines and they own factories and buildings. And we know from experience and also by validating our proposition that these people want to spend in the game. And in fact, we already have around 500 of these people who bought early access NFTs in our game. And these are indeed people that are already in crypto. So they're not really risk averse, maybe even risk takers. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in crypto, right? They're on the lookout for new concepts, new projects where they find it interesting for various reasons. Some only the monetary reasons. They want to be early and see our game as something that has huge potential. But there are also investors or crypto people that really like our philosophy of being truly decentralized and true to blockchain technology. So it's a mixed bag of motivations, but the common denominator is they are in crypto and they want to spend. And then we have another playstyle in our game, and it's called the adventure playstyle. And that is a playstyle for people that do not want to spend or cannot spend, and they want to, invest their time into our game. So really play the game and do quests and earn tokens. And for that target group, it's perfectly with people from relatively lower income areas because you don't need to invest front or buy an item up front, but also to crypto curious people that maybe have a small amount of crypto, but do not necessarily want to invest that or spend that on a game yet. So they can try our game, play our game, and see if it's a fit for them. And if they like it, then they can decide further up their playing experience to make a purchase or, reinvest their earnings in the game and maybe top it up with some of their own funds. So we have two main target groups indeed.
And from investor points of view, what are the problems that Cryptopia solved?
Yeah, so I mentioned one, and that's a very important one. There's a barrier to enter a game because many crypto projects or many games require you to buy an NFT first or hold an NFT or even specific amount of tokens of that project. And we believe it can work for them, but we don't believe in that. So we want to be as easy to play as possible. And that means that you don't need to worry about having crypto. Because if you're from outside the crypto space and you need to buy something, that means that you need to have crypto. And that means that you need to go to a centralized exchange or maybe a DEX. But if you're really new to crypto, you probably won't go to a DEX. And the easiest way for you is to go to a centralized exchange. You need to sign up there, do KYC, purchase crypto, and then you need to send that crypto to the game. Or even with the crypto, you have to probably buy the project's token or an NFT, maybe in a different cryptocurrency. So you need to, you hear it already, right? There are so many steps and many points of failure for people that are new to crypto. By not having the requirement that they need to hold an asset or tokens, it's very easy for them. They can just download the game and play it. Another problem is that it's this by itself, this explanation was already complex. But there is an additional layer of complexity, and it is that people need to have a wallet. And that's also very difficult for people to acquire because they don't understand how to do it. They need to write down the seed phrase, maybe install a plugin in the web browser, etc., etc. So it's very difficult and it should be far more easy to start a game or a project on the blockchain. So we integrated a multi-signature wallet into the game client. Our game is running on Unity. So we integrated a multi-signature wallet into the Unity client. And that means that people download our game, and if the game account is created, underneath it, the wallet is also created. So you have a wallet by just creating an account. And another problem, well, there are many problems, but the most important problems are, of course, also the fun part. So there are many Web3 games and blockchain games that lack gameplay or are not fun to play. The only thing they have is you can buy an asset or an NFT and then sell it for a higher price and maybe click around on some buttons and that's it. And well, that's in our opinion not a game. And I think the gamers also say so because these games are not there yet anymore. They died slowly because it's not sustainable. So we have a full game. It's not a browser game. You download it. It's a full 3D world. There's a lot of game loops, a lot of play mechanisms in it. So you can really decide how you want to play. You can spend all your time in collecting resources, or you can start breeding animals, or you can try to build the residential areas and rent these. You can even go pursue a political career, become a mayor of a city. So there are many, many ways for you to spend your time, if you like it, of course. So we believe we have lots to offer in terms of gameplay and fun. And then we have the problem of sustainability. So a lot of play-to-earn games are not sustainable in their economic models, and they often rely on you or the gamers buying an asset and then selling it at a higher price. We think that's not the way to go, and we have built sustainability in our gaming environment through really player-to-player interaction. So players generate quests for other players, and players also pay out quest rewards to other players. Also, in our game, we have a circular economy. So we have circular economy concepts. And that means that by playing the game, you create quest rewards for future players. And as an example, we have a construction mechanism. So if you, as a tycoon, have a gold mine, you want to make that gold mine productive, you can't do it alone. You always need other players. So you always need other players to come to your location, offer their labor, and in return, you pay them a reward. This means that if I, as a tycoon, want to progress, I always need other players, and these players can also progress while I'm progressing. So together, you win, so to say. Then we have a problem, and that's a very important one, is the decentralization. So many Web3 games say they are Web3, but in a way they are partly Web3. So they have their assets on chain, but the rest is still on centralized servers. We think that's very dangerous and not the way to go. You are still having a single point of failure and making yourself very vulnerable to attacks, hacks, or regulation. In our game, we say, okay, we want to be decentralized. We want to be 100% decentralized. So we have our game state on chain, on the blockchain, and all the other aspects are running a decentralized node network. So we created our own node network, and that means that we don't need to rely on central servers. In fact, we don't have central servers. So we are a game running without central game servers. And another problem is botting. So there are many games, Web3 games, that are plagued by bots that try to exploit it. Frank, the founder and the CTO, he thought hard about it, and he decided to embrace the botting aspect. And it means that our game embraces bots, and we designed our game in such a way that we allow machine participation, but they can never beat the human. So we have, and I can't tell all the details, of course, but we have on-chain cooldowns, and we have rate limiting mechanisms that makes it possible for us to allow bots in the game. So it doesn't matter if you are a human player or a scripted player, because they don't have an advantage over the other. So the game logic is tailored to bots, and in that way, well, we welcome bots. With that we mean you are free to script whatever you want in the game, because it doesn't have any advantage over a human player. And in fact, if you do script it, you contribute to our game, because then we have interactions, be it by a bot, but still we have interactions. So you're adding value to our ecosystem. So these are problems, and also these are the things, how we solve them.
Having the scripting mechanic there sounds very interesting. Usually games take a very different approach to bots, but that sounds like it adds a whole new layer of gameplay, for people that are interested in that type of maximization and programming the best way to play, achieve the best results for themselves. You also mentioned that most games don't choose full decentralization. Can you say why you think that is? Why are they not going the same route as you for a full decentralization?
I think there are multiple categories of answers to this. So the first one, I believe, is that many games do not understand why it's important, so they never thought about it. and they just, use the solutions that are already there. So developing a normal game, online game at least, has a central server. So they just use Amazon Web Services or the Google or Microsoft. That's just how they do it. And they have their like blockchain elements, like the assets or NFTs or a token that's on the blockchain, but the rest is still, in how they used to do it. And I believe that they don't see it as a problem. And we see it as a problem. And we experience it in a couple of previous projects a couple of years ago. And it's not that you get hacked. Of course, there are chances that you get attacked and maybe get breached. But okay, you can argue that the server parks are very secure and we have all the measures in place to prevent that. But there's one thing you can't prevent, and that is the regulation. And the regulatory risks are still pretty high in crypto space. So it is perfectly possible that in the future, like Amazon is forced to stop providing services to crypto games or crypto projects. And if that's the case, then you as a game are in trouble, because then you can't run your game anymore. Well, you have to move it and you have to find another place, but this is sort of like cat and mouse play. You go to another geographical area where you can run your game or run your project, but there's no guarantee that in the future also that geographical area is going to change the regulation. So if you are really fully decentralized, you do not run that risk. And that is the introduction to the second problem, or the second argument, is that people do not know how to become 100% decentralized. And that's something we also faced while creating our project, and that made us decide to create our own solution, because we couldn't find an existing solution on the market. And that's why we put a lot of effort in creating our own solution. So I think it's number one, people do not really understand why it's important. And the second part, if they understand it and if they want to become decentralized, they don't know how to do it because there's no current solution. While talking to a lot of other Web3 projects, they all said to us, okay, this is great. And, can we join your solution? Can we use your solution? And that made us also decide, okay, indeed, there's a huge demand for this solution, so we're on the right track. And we should indeed allow other projects also to use this technological solution. So our plan is to create an SDK that includes our wallet, our integrated wallet, that includes the accounts, and that includes also the node network. So other projects can then use our SDK and run or develop their project using our technology. So that way we help them also becoming 100% decentralized. And another part, and I forgot to mention, is also from the gaming or the gamer perspective, why it's important to be 100% decentralized, is that we talk in Web3 about ownership of game items. And that's really the beauty of Web3. So everything you work for in a game, if you earn something or you crafted something and that game item is an NFT, then it's yours. So you can do whatever you want with it. You can keep it, you can sell it, you can rent it, trade it for other stuff. But the problem is still, if the environment in which this NFT or in which this digital asset is going to be used is under control of a centralized party, you run the risk that centralized party is going to change the rules of around the usability, or I like to call it utility, not in your favor. So if you have a really nice sword or a racing car in your game, depending on the game, of course, you're very happy with it and you can play with it in the game. And then the game says, okay, from tomorrow on, you cannot play anymore because you need to upgrade it or you need to buy 3 more. Then you are in trouble. So you can be the owner, but then you are the owner of a useless digital asset. So that's where the decentralization kicks in again. In our game, we cannot change the gaming rules. All the gaming rules are in smart contracts on the blockchain. And there's only one entity that can change this, and that is the community of players. So in the DAO structure, they can vote, if necessary, for a change of the rules. And if the majority says, okay, we need to change it, then it will be changed. But it cannot be affected by a single party. And that is also something that not many players, gamers, even investors realize, that this is a risk in the future and should be taken care of upfront. So if you want to play a game, if you decide to spend a lot of time into a game or even money, then you should be aware, hey, is this game centralized? Can I change the rules in the future? Or am I safe? And can I, put all my time and effort in this game because I know that the rules cannot be changed in the future?
So you touched on a couple of very interesting points there, but I want to drill down on this topic of regulations. Obviously, we've seen some stores and publisher platforms that try to limit or let's say harm some of the NFT elements of games. But do you see in your future risk assessment, do you see regulations coming from government, or you think it's the platforms that are the main risk of trying to take down non-decentralized games?
Yeah, I think it's both. I think the governments that really try to protect the consumers, the customers, and I believe that's very important to do so. although maybe the reasons are not really genuine, but at least there is some form of protection necessary, because we all know what happened in the bull market, or when there's a lot of hype, people get into projects and, well, they get rugged. So I truly believe that although people have their own responsibility, I still believe that we should protect people. And that's the role of a government, of course. So that's where regulation is necessary and can also help us. We can thrive in a regulated environment because we are there with good intentions. Of course, the regulation should not be too strict and should only be there to protect the consumer and not have other hidden reasons. But that's a whole different story. So one, the government, and two, of course, also the platforms, because it's a threat to their business model. So it's a threat to how they monetize the gaming, or how they monetize the time of their users. And if you allow projects that can make money in a whole different way, that's really difficult to understand. And I appreciate that it's a long way from there, but I think they really have problems understanding what these games are and how they can function. And we are very early, so I can imagine that they have hard times, wrapping their heads around it. It used to be like, okay, you have a game and they have revenue, and a certain percentage of the revenue goes to the app store or the platform, right? But if you are a play and earn game or a Web3 game, it's also about the items that you work for and that also have value, and not necessarily bought, but at least earned by spending time. And should you also apply the same principle? Should you also say, I need 15% or 20% on the value of these assets? So I think there are still work to do. And the first knee-jerk reaction is try to limit it, right? Instead of embracing it and try to work together and see how you can find a solution. So it's both. For us, we want to be on mobile, of course, and we have to deal with the app stores. But at this stage, we haven't dealt with it because we focus first on developing the game for the desktop, so the PC versions, Windows and Apple. And when these are there and really running in a stable fashion, then we're going to optimize for mobile, and then we hopefully have a much better environment in 6 months with some solutions from the platforms to allow also these games. And you see it already starting, like Epic Games is allowing also NFT games. And I believe I read something about Steam, but I can't recall that now. But it's changing. It's something new, and they have to deal with it because it's here to stay.
Yeah, I think Epic, look, from all the publishers, all the platforms, they took the most welcoming approach. But for the rest, I guess you still have your work cut out for you as an industry, not just as a game. So speaking about that, can you tell us about what's your view about current Web3 gaming market? Where is it at? What are the trends that you're seeing?
Yeah, so we're still very early. We're still iterating. So we had a couple of waves, so to say. These were necessary, of course. From the ashes, new things arise, right? So we built on top of other people's endeavors. What we see now, and I talk a lot with other projects and other founders and CEOs, is we really try to not focus on the earning part, not focus on the blockchain part, but focus on the gameplay part. So really about creating beautiful visuals, creating really good game loops, create sticky games that people really want to play and keep returning to. So that's a bit what I hear in the spaces and in the AMAs. But that, of course, also to the front the question, why are you then on the blockchain? So a lot of projects are struggling, or not really struggling, but it circles back to what I explained about decentralization, that a lot of projects don't mind it. So if you talk about what is Web3 now, and they say it shouldn't matter if it's Web2 or 3, it should be a beautiful game that has fun elements and is nice to play. And for me, then the question is, okay, but why are you then using blockchain technology? Why is it for? And is it that you want to share the revenue, or is it to get rich quickly? It's a difficult discussion still. But I believe that there are more projects coming out of development now that are fully on chain. So I already saw another project that does the same as what we do, so it has the same philosophy. So I think that's part of the future, but to really gain main adoption of Web3 games, you still need the big guns, and there are a couple of big game studios working on NFT games or Web3 games, and they probably will help drive the adoption of these games. The problem with that is, how I see it, is that they do not tend to be decentralized or embrace a decentralized philosophy, and also are not inclined to really share with their community also the proceeds of their game. Because that's, in my opinion, very important. We are a DAO, and it means that we are a decentralized autonomous organization, and we are owned by our community. So the gamers own the game in a way, and the owners also share in the news or the profit. So if the game goes good, in a good way, we as a project, Cryptopia, so our team is not earning from that. So of course we have a revenue stream, but we put it back into the game. And we also need some money for the operations, but the bulk of all the revenue goes back to the gamers. And that is something that is really really new. That is also, in my opinion, the distinction between Web 2 and Web 3 games. And I don't know if all the Web 3 games coming out in the future have that same philosophy and have that same intention to share with their community the proceeds and the revenue. Another thing I see happening is the development of the platforms with a wallet integrated in there. So the same problems as we described. They see, okay, it's very difficult for people to start a Web3 game because they need a wallet. So there are many initiatives with their own wallets in their project, on their platform. So that's a sign for us that we are on the right track and that we solve indeed a real world problem. And what we see is that some games try to really work on the interoperability. So when we started this a couple of years ago, we spoke about the metaverse, and the metaverse is, of course, a bit tainted now. But it means that, there's an online world and you as a player can own items and you can choose where you want to use these items. So you can use it in game A, and you can also use that same item in game B and C or project D. And it is possible from a technical perspective, but it requires cooperation from the other project because you have to allow other items in your game. So you have to have a use case for that. And it went a bit to the background. In the beginning, we spoke about it and we saw a couple of projects working specifically on making the items portable and make it interoperable. But now with the last year or 1.5 years, it was pretty silent. But recently I heard a couple of projects talk about this again. And I really hope that can be pulled off because it really opens, well, at least it showcases to people from outside the space why this is so good and why this is so exciting. That you can use your item in other games or other projects, that would be really awesome. So not sure if it's picking up and will be mainstream in 2024, but the signs are pretty hopeful for that.
Yeah, so I got from that it's unlikely that big studios will do any real profit sharing or even real decentralization, but they might help open the door with the app stores, so real decentralized games such as yourself would be able to go in there, which is good. Beyond that, do you think that the let's call it the Web3 gaming is going to be a real part of the gaming industry, or is it going to stay more of a part of the crypto industry, meaning in terms of how outside investors see it?
So yes, very good question. I think, and I hope that we play a role in that. Traditional gamers look at the Web3 gaming now as something that is, well, shouldn't be there. So they think, well, why should I play to earn money, or why should I even try it? And I always answer these questions with, okay, when we started with the internet, we had the same response. So why is it necessary? Or when we had the mobile phones, it was also like, no, I have my landline. I'm never going to use a mobile phone. It's ridiculous. Why should I always be reachable? And now it's in our lives, and we can't imagine a life without it. Well, I'm not saying that Web3 will have that same effect in the future, but at least it is something new and people cannot really understand or cannot really grasp the concept. And then it's very easy to say, no, I don't want it. The problem also is that the examples that are there or were not really helpful, because there were a lot of scammers, a lot of ugly games, a lot of games that were no games, etc., etc. So that really fueled their first reaction, confirmed their first opinion. The second wave or the third wave, you can argue, of the games that are in development now, coming out soon, and we are one of them, hopefully changes that perception by showing that the games are really fun and are really great, have great visual, gameplay, etc. But also in our case specifically, that we also can show, hey, we are decentralized, and we are decentralized for a reason, not only for making money, but specifically for allowing everyone to participate and allowing everyone to earn in our game. And we don't want to redistribute wealth. That's not the issue here, but we want to make it possible for everyone to participate. And if you have money, you can spend the money, but if you don't have money, you can spend your time. And your time, in this case, is worth real money compared to Web 2, where you could spend thousands and thousands of hours in a game. And that's, of course, brilliant if you like that game. But at the end, if you want to stop the game, you can't do anything with everything you built in that game. So you can't take it out. In Web 3, you can take it out, or you can decide to give it to someone else or partly to someone else. And so there's a whole new level of utility added by the Web 3 games. And I believe that if we have the good examples and if we can show the people that it has added value, and all the hygiene factors are there, like a good game and gameplay, etc., that we can have our own spot or our own place in the gaming sector as a whole. But if we fail to do so, then it may be still, seen as some nice try, but it never got off the ground.
So speaking about the importance of having fun, central to the game, and you've mentioned you're a gamer. Can you tell us what games did you play the most, and what elements of those games you can see in Cryptopia?
Yeah, so the games I play the most are the MMOs, so they're really the multiplayer online games. I played a lot Guild Wars, well, mainly Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2, but I also tried, of course, all the other MMOs out there, shooters, but also city builders like Civilization, Settlers. And what I really like is progression. So from the Civilization and the Settler games, I really like, to research tech and be able to create better products or produce better products or to optimize the production or the yields of my lands and all my assets I have. So I really like that. And that's also what comes back in Cryptopia. So you can really create supply chains, try to, play the market. And only this time, of course, is worth real money. And that's really exciting to me. On the other hand, the MMOs, so the more role-playing games, so working on your avatar or your character and try to specialize in crafting or specialize in a certain specific fighting style. Well, in Cryptopia, we don't really have fighting styles. We have player versus player battles. So if you are a pirate, you can loot other players. But it's not similar to like a World of Warcraft or for Guild Wars, where you can really spend points or attribute points into specific skills for fighting. So that's not what we have. But what we do have is that you can improve your characters. So you can really plan out and work on your character and specialize in a job. So you can become an architect or you can become mighty crafter. So there are many ways to play and really, groom your character and make it very efficient or very powerful. And these are the things I really like also in Cryptopia, because it allows you to, increase your earning capacity. So if you are like a normal laborer, then you can go to a mining site of another player and you can, of course, do your labor there. But if you are a specialized laborer or maybe an operator of a machine, you can, of course, be more efficient and also earn a higher reward. So that's how our game works. You are continuously stimulated to look at your avatar or your assets and try to improve these in order to become a better player or become have more productive units in the game. So that's for me very exciting, what I really like about Cryptopia. Of course, we have the whole suite of quests and daily quests and what have you. We will integrate that. But I think that's more of a hygiene factor and every game should have that. What makes us unique is of course, all the items are worth real value and the gamers or the players need each other to progress.
Cool. So if you're listening to this and you're the type of person that likes to develop your character or build up an empire and you want to have a chance to save that progress and show it off and not just have it disappear when the game shuts down, that sounds like a perfect fix for you.
Absolutely. And because we are a blockchain game and we use the blockchain as a real technology in our game, everything that is meaningful in our game is also on the blockchain. So if I become a crafter or maybe if I become a mayor of a city, then it's registered on the blockchain that I am the mayor of that city, that people voted to have me as a mayor. Or you can also have relationships in our game. You can marry other players. That will also be written to the blockchain. So it's immutable. And that's also why we say once married, you cannot get divorced. You will stay married forever. And I know in the real world, you can get a divorce, but we really want to have the immutable effect of the blockchain. So if you marry in our game, it will be written on the blockchain and you will be man and wife or maybe man and man, whatever your preference is, forever.
That's very unique. That's something only blockchain enables, I would say. I think we learned a lot about the game and the project. Where can anyone in our audience that's interested to learn more or just to play the game, where can they go and where should they follow your team?
You can start on our website, cryptopia.com, and we are still in development. Well, in fact, we are in development for almost 4 years now, and we are going to have an open beta maybe at the end of this year, so in Q4, at the end of the Q4, but definitely in the first quarter of next year. But if you go to our website, cryptopia.com, you can find all the information. You can also find a link to our Discord community, which is very active and engaging. Of course, on Twitter, Cryptopia Official. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, that's also possible. My Twitter handle is Cryptopia. Yeah, so that's where you can find us.
Thank you again, Sangho, for taking the time and sharing everything about your project.
Yes, thank you very much for your time and having us in this podcast.
And thank you for listening to the Bitcoin.com news podcast. Follow us for more interviews with the most interesting leaders, founders, and investors in the fields of cryptocurrency, decentralized finance, NFTs, and the metaverse.